My name is Kenzie.
Are you ready to capture every heart-pounding moment of your outdoors adventure lifestyle in stunning HD video? Then attach the Tactacam 4.0 to your bow, crossbow, or firearm. Push the power button one time and start recording. Now, thanks to a 5-time zoom and easy Wi-Fi operation, the Tactacam is truly the best way to share your hunt. For more information, visit Tactacam.com. Tactacam, share your hunt.
Due to the amount of awesome we have to provide. Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day. Update on what we've been up to this past weekend has been kind of disheartening for the Kenzie and Poe team. The flooding of the Missouri River has just been tough. We deal with this every year, but usually by this time of the year we are pretty gung-ho and happy if nothing's happened yet because we've never had flooding this late in the year. And this past week, the river got up to 28, or just under 28, I believe, back home. And at that height, the areas that we hunt, some of the areas that we hunt are on the riverside of the levee, and, you know, they get undertaken by water. The water overflows them, and they have standing water over top of them. And that's pretty much every one of our food plots. So we were pretty discouraged. We don't know how many game cameras we've lost. We don't know the actual extent of the damage yet, as the water hasn't actually gone down where our food plots and game cameras are yet. It's working its way down, and should be hopefully dry, or at least dry enough to get back to where we can check the cameras this weekend. But the food plots that we had, they were looking so good. We had a mixture of a lot of greens. We had clovers, rape, turnips, radishes, stuff like that. And, you know, the very worst part is that they don't really turn sweet until that first frost. And first frost was this past night. So we were literally like a week away from having these few acres of food plots, you know, kill plots per se, ready to go for this winter. But nature's a beast, and you can't ever try to control it, because in the end, nature will win. So, you know, we had to been dealing with that, which with the flooding has, you know, made us focus other areas around where we hunt, possibly in a lot of areas that we've never really looked at before, smaller timbers, tree lines, stuff like that. It allowed us to maybe learn more about our area. I mean, you got to look at the positives and everything. And having this happen made us do a little more investigative research, scouting in areas that we don't normally look at. And I believe that it's been a positive in that aspect of this bad occurrence, this flooding, this natural, you know, not so much disaster, but natural occurrence. And it is what it is. But, you know, on a good note, you know, update with our deer clash that we got going on with Natural Born Killers. If you don't know anything about it, that is a competition that we started this year. It's the first year that we've done this, and it's Big Muddie Outdoors versus Natural Born Killers. I think they have 7 or 8 guys. We've got 7 or 8 guys. So it's really a scoring team competition against one another. And, you know, we kind of do a weekly update depending on what happens that week. And this past weekend, it was pretty good for the Big Muddie team and Natural Born Killers. But Big Muddie took the lead. Poe doubled up Friday night, got 2 does, and then Jeremy also added to our total with another doe. So now we have 4 kills, 3 of which are on camera, which in this competition is bonus points. So we've taken the lead. Natural Born Killers has a buck down from this past weekend. I'm just waiting on that score to come in so I can add to their totals. So the score right now, as you see it on social media, is a little skewed. It'll be a little closer once we get that buck scored and on the tally list. But, you know, that's going on. That's a lot of fun. It's a friendly competition between, 2 groups here in Missouri. Hopefully next year we can add more groups, maybe 3 or 4 teams are heading up, go at it that way. It would be interesting. With that, we're fighting for not only bragging rights, but we've got a couple prizes this first year. Dead Ringer Hunting sent us some broadheads. Scent Crusher sent us a package with the Ozone Go unit and a hat, and we're doing a half dozen Black Eagle arrows. So the winning team gets something, not only bragging rights, but we're fighting for those prizes as well. I mean, that's pretty much what has happened this past week. Again, I've hunted a few times, both public and back home, and just I'm not having as much luck. I went hunting Monday morning, and I hunted a stand that Poe killed the 2 doe out of. Didn't see anything. I walk out, and there's 5 deer, 6 deer standing under one of our other stands. So it is what it is. They call it deer hunting for a reason, and I'll just keep plugging on, doing the best I can, trying to get that first kill of the season and help our team in the total on the deer clash. So every day is another day to hunt. Hopefully I can get out more this week and this next weekend and can put some meat in the freezer. With that, up now is the interview I did with Aaron Stonehocker from Tactacam. What a great guy. Great story he has, and kind of inspirational to any of us that want to get into the hunting industry, how he got into it. So listen to that, and here you go. This week on Show Me Ruttin podcast, we have Aaron Stonehocker. Thanks for getting on here, sir. Appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Good.
Excited to be.
Doing good. Hopefully we can work through these technical difficulties and make this thing work.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's a technical product. We got to get the podcast figured out at least. Come on.
Exactly. Who is Aaron Stonehocker for the ones that are listening who may not know you?
Oh man, I don't want to pump up my own ego too much, but just your average Joe, man, who's just had some opportunities laying in my lap, get in the outdoor industry, work for a cool company, and just living the dream now. So grew up, born and raised Earlham, Iowa. Ended up going to community college there, met my wife there, and she did ROTC through the University of Iowa for the Air Force, and so that's her career path. And I joined the Air National Guard, did 6 years in that, and we ended up moving out to Virginia with her first duty station. So that was I tell you what, going from hunting 300-pound deer in Iowa to a $150 deer in Virginia was a little tough, but it was fun, man. There's more hunting and fishing out in Virginia than anyone can do in their whole life. I mean, it was a good time fishing for sure. But anyways, did 4 years out there, and then now actually we're living in Great Falls, Montana. We've been living up here for about 3 weeks, got restationed, and so now my hunting world's changing all over again. I got to figure out how to hunt totally different species and got to learn how to catch my breath in the mountains and all that stuff. So. But no, yeah, I was actually a park ranger. That's the career that I had set out my goal for. Went to school for it. Got my first full-time opportunity out in Virginia. So I was a park ranger at Chip Oaks Plantation State Park for about 3 years total time. And I found out about Tactacam through a magazine that I had started writing for, actually. And the editor just told me, hey, man, if you're going to be out there trying to film your hunts and stuff, you need to check this product out. So I called Tactacam to kind of answer some questions before I made my first 2.0 purchase. And Ben Stern answered the phone one time, the customer service line. And for those of you who don't know, he's the inventor of Tactacam. So that totally blew my mind that you call customer service and you're talking to the man himself.
Yeah.
And then the next time I called back, Jeff Peel answered, and he's the CEO of the company. And same thing, man. I was just like, okay, I don't care anything else about this product anymore. The company I love it. So I bought my camera. I loved it. Took it on all kinds of stuff. Got a few deer under my belt with it and all kinds of fishing with it, all that stuff. And then I just got hooked, man. So I was just constantly reaching out to them, asking them what I could do to help. I knew they were a growing company at that time. I think they were a 2-year-old company. Now they're about a 4-year-old company. And I fell head over heels for it. And man, every opportunity I had to go show it to a dealer or go show it to my buddies or help them out at a trade show, I was jumping on it. And then next thing you know, Jeff's calling me, asking me for ideas about this big crazy team program he's got an idea for. And one thing led to another. Now I'm the communications director for him. I finally got a full-time job, which is pretty cool because my wife being military allows me to travel with it. And I mean, who wouldn't want to work at least one time in their life for the outdoors industry if they have a chance. So I tell you what, this is about the only job opportunity that could have pulled me out of being a park ranger, though. I absolutely love that, but this is just one of those opportunities I would have kicked myself all day long if I wouldn't have taken it. So
no, definitely, you had to take the opportunity. It sounds like that was an opportunity you couldn't pass up, especially loving the outdoors and trying to jump into the outdoor industry. It seems like a perfect opportunity to get a foot in the door, in essence.
But for anybody looking to get your foot in the door, man, I mean, the team opportunities or field staffs, pro staffs, just if that's something you're looking to do, that's really, in my opinion, probably the best way to get your foot in the door somewhere is just, finding something you're passionate about, finding a product you like, and you never know, man, just, keeping that hard work attitude up there and, volunteering for stuff. People keep an eye on it, whether you think they are or not. It's one of those deals.
Oh yeah, I'm on the team as well. That's how we know each other, and it definitely is. You put forth the effort, you guys definitely see it and stuff like that. So, like you said, exactly. Take the time. That's really what people are interested up front. Is you willing to spend the time, use the product, and promote it properly. To climb up the ladder like you did. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you are full-time now. You said it was communications director? Yes, sir. Is that right? Yep. So what does that entail? So everybody, like I said, it's a 4.5-year-old company. I think we've got, you don't quote me on, but I want to say there's like 15 total employees there at Tactacam, 13 of which I'd say are full-time, so pretty small company. Everybody wears multiple hats. So what I got brought on to do, I guess, was to build our Tactacam team program, our grassroots initiative. These guys are just amazing, and they literally are the backbone of this company. They support our dealers. They help out all of our conservation partners through a bunch of grassroots initiatives. They help us out at trade shows. Just all the things we can't do with 15 people, these guys allow us to do nationwide, and it's just an awesome effort. So I kind of spearhead that, and I've been building it from day one to what it is now, and now it's more of a management role of that program. And then also I help out a lot now. I'm getting more into like our conservation relationships with like NWTF, Ducks Unlimited, Whitetails Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, all those guys. I do a lot of things with those. I do a little bit of stuff with dealers here and there, depending on if I'm in the area or not. Like right now is a great example. We don't have, the 3 sales reps Tactacam has are located in Minnesota there. I'm in Montana, so I can do a little bit of outreach things out west here now that's giving me a little bit more of a role to play there. I dabble a little bit of marketing, just a little bit of everything, really. It's kind of a unique role. Yeah. You had talked about that you were a ranger, and that's really what your passion kind of was as a occupation. What's some of the craziest stuff you've seen being a ranger? People littering, man, I tell you. No. Actually my good, bad, or ugly. Good, bad, or ugly. I tell you what, if you like the outdoors, you like to be a handyman, a jack of all trades, master of none. I was a plumber, I was an electrician, I was a carpenter, all that stuff. Plus you get a little bit of the law enforcement side, you get, all that. I think the craziest thing I had to deal with, maintenance wise, it's kind of a crappy story, literally. We had a marathon that was coming through. There was like a half marathon or something that was coming through the park, and we were part of that route. And it was like the start line and the finish line ended at our park. And I don't know what kind of protein bars some of those guys eat or whatever, dude, but somebody plugged up one of our toilets, and it took us 2 whole days and pulling the toilet and everything. I had spent more bleach in that one job, I think, than in my life. So, you get into situations like that. Actually, probably like the ugliest thing I've had happen was probably at the park I was at in Iowa, Palisades, Kepler. A gentleman was, one morning I get out there and I drive down to the river bottom to go check because the river had just flooded, so we were trying to determine when we could actually open that road back up. Well, some guy had driven around the signs telling him not to go down there, teaching his son how to drive, did a U-turn, and ended up sinking his van about 6 inches deep in the mud because the water was just totally saturated out there. And so, I drive back down there, and there was a gal sitting there with me, and I said, if we can, just avoid eye contact because I don't want to deal with this right now. Let's go check out what we need to check out. We'll come back and help them. And of course, she was looking at him, and he jumps out in the road and stops us. We're like, okay, we'll deal with it now. And he goes, hey, can you guys give me a tow out of here? And I say, sir, we can't. We can't hook state equipment up to your private vehicle because of liability. We just can't do it. It's against the rules. But I said, I'd be more than happy to call a tow service for you, or I can try to help you push the van out. We can do whatever, right? And he's just like, he starts to get irritated at me that I can't just hook him up and pull him out, right? Yeah. And it would have been easy, but I just kept telling him no, and he's getting irritated. So finally I say, sir, how about this? Let's, get your son out of there. You hop in the driver's seat. I'll do what I can to try to push you out. And so I get in front of the van because we're trying to rock it because he had sank it
just perfect. So I figured if we get him up on some higher ground and maybe just let him roll it out, he might have been able to. So anyway, I'm standing right in front of the driver's front wheel, pushing on the front of the van, and he just guns it. And I mean, he slings me mud from head to toe, just coats me in a cake of mud. And I'm like, are you kidding me, man? Like, take it easy. Like, come on. So I wipe it off my face, and I said, okay. I said, next time, please don't gun it. I said, I'm going to go push on the back, and we'll try it that way. And so we tried it, and nothing. I get back in the front, and I tell him again, take it easy this time. Turn your wheels the other direction. Let's go. And he just nails it again, sprays me head to toe with mud all over again. At this point, I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm going to go call a tow company. I'm
done dealing with this.
Yep, I'm done. And I said, I need, I can call you a tow company. I said, while I'm up there, we don't get service down here. While I'm up there, I'll grab some plywood. We'll try to figure something out so you might not have to pay for the tow. But worst case scenario, there'll be a company out here that can help you. And he finally just kind of rolls his eyes like, okay, I guess if that's what we have to do, we have to do it. And I said, okay, great. So I drive up. I have the gal go grab some wood for us, and then we call the tow company and we load up and we drive back down there. This was maybe 10 minutes. We drive back down there, and the guy and his son are gone. The van's sitting there sunk in the mud, but the guy and the boy are gone. We're like, what the hell? Yeah, so we drive all around the park, can't find him. I'm like, well, okay, I guess the tow company's going to come out here and they'll tow his vehicle, and the problem won't be ours anymore. Worst case we have to do now is pull that ground out. Anyway, the tow company ends up getting out there about lunchtime. I called the sheriff's office. They take the jurisdiction over it. That way the park's not liable for anything. The sheriff's office signs off on it. And they tow the van, they take it off to their dispatch or whatever. And it's like an hour before the end of the day. I'm on the tractor. I'm pulling some trees out of this ravine that had just fallen over from the storm. And this van, I'm going in reverse in the tractor. Nothing's coming. And all of a sudden this this car comes flying by me, screeches on its brakes and stops. And I'm like, whoa, dude, so I hop off and I go walking up. I'm like, going to tell this guy, dude, you got to watch it. Friggin' huge tractor sitting there. You could have just killed yourself, And he hops out, and it's the guy again. And he's got his boy and his boy's friend in the back, and he just lays into me. He's going, where the F is my van? And, your guys are going to F and pay for anything that you did to that thing, and you're going to F and pay for the tow bill and this. And I said, sir, you gave me permission to tow your vehicle. I said, when I got down there, you were gone. I left the plywood down there for you to get it out. I said, I don't know where you guys were. You've been gone all day. But I said, here's the information the tow company gave me so you can go get your van. I said, the Linn County Sheriff's Office is going ahead and taking care of it. And he goes, you called the Linn County Sheriff's Office? He goes, oh, God damn it. And he starts poking me in the chest. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh, God, this is about to get serious, Oh, man. And he's like getting face to face with me and poking me and telling me, dude, he's like, you're going to pay for this. You're responsible. Who's your boss? Who's your boss? So I tell him, I said, you can call my boss, but he's going to tell you the exact same thing I'm telling you right now. Your van's there. You can go get it. You gave us permission. The Linn County Sheriff's Office has it right now. It's not our deal. And he just, for about 25 minutes, just keeps going. I'm getting ready for him to start throwing punches. I thought it was going there, and it didn't end up doing it. So he ends up leaving and peeling out of there and tearing out, leaves the park, and my boss calls me and said, hey, he said, I just got back from the courthouse. He said, you want to come up here and explain a few things to me? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So I get up there, and he goes, well, first thing I'm going to have you and Olivia do is I need you guys to fill out these witness statements. I need you to tell me exactly everything that happened, start to finish, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, so we lay into it. And then he goes, okay, he's like, I got a couple messages on here. He said, I'm guessing a couple are probably from the guy you gave my number to. Do you mind if we play them? I said, nope. So he goes, okay. He said, Olivia, step out. I'm going to have Aaron in here once. Listen to these, and I want you to come back in later. So he had us one-on-one, verifying the stories, our stories, we're the same and all that. And he plays the message, and the dude sounds like a saint on the phone, like the sweetest guy you'd ever met in your life. He's apologizing for the misunderstanding, all this stuff. And I just start laughing. I'm like, man, that's not the guy. And so we end up calling the towing company and explain to the lady, hey, just to let you know, there's a guy, he's pretty heated. He's coming down your way looking for his van. She goes, are you talking about that a-hole that just came in here about this van and that? We're like, yep, that's him. She's like, oh my God. She said, you know why that guy was so fired up, don't you? And I was like, why? And he goes, she said, the van was registered to his father-in-law who'd been dead for like 10 years. And he hadn't paid any kind of taxes, licensing fees, anything on it for that amount of time. So of course, we essentially repoed his vehicle that he'd been bummed about. So he was all fired up, and he came back to the park a couple of times, but obviously, the sheriff's office handled it from there. But that was probably the most ugly thing. But you'd be surprised, man. People, campers that get mad at each other for taking a camping spot that someone else wanted and all that stuff. I mean, it gets pretty interesting sometimes.
Oh, man, people. They can be interesting, can't they?
Oh, yeah. Yep, people. That's it.
That's it. The human factor and everything.
Yep.
We will be right back after this short break. Who or what is Dead Ringer? Dead Ringer hits many categories within the archery, hunting, and shooting industries. With products ranging from tactical scopes to archery broadheads, Dead Ringer has what you need. The company embodies the work hard, play harder attitude. Having passionate individuals from top to bottom that are driven to bring the best products at the best price to you, the consumer. Make sure and check them out at deadringerhunting.com. Okay, so we talked about you. We talked about where you at, your occupation, some stories. Let's get down to the brass bolts, I guess, the nuts and the bolts, and let's talk about the 5.0. 5.0 just came out this year, and it seems to be pretty spectacular. What can it do? What can it do that puts it even better than the 4.0?
Better than the 4.0, man. So we upgraded the resolution up to 4K now, which is pretty cool. They're pretty large files, but it allows any of the guys that are doing post-editing, they can zoom in infinitely pretty much without it getting pixelated. Just that super sharp, crystal clear image that, everybody thinks they got to have. They've got it now. So, if you're going to be using that, I would recommend you have one of the latest cell phones out there, probably the latest computers out there, because those are big files. So yeah, the 4K is pretty cool. We upgraded the zoom to an 8x zoom, which is, everybody wants more and more zoom on these cameras, right? That's kind of the one thing that separates POVs from mainstream filming cameras is that zoom capability. We upgraded the microphone. The 4.0 is a pretty stellar microphone. I don't think anyone would argue with that. But when it comes to wind noise, that kind of thing was a little finicky. The 5.0, we've cut some of that out, which is really nice. Just the microphone's outstanding. And then the slow motion. Now we have two different slow motions, but we've upgraded to HD resolution in the slow motion mode. So just really cool for guys out there trying to do that. Probably the biggest standalone thing. Obviously, those features are all upgraded, but you can customize each of the three modes now to do whatever you want them to do. You don't have to be stuck with our presets that we put together for you. If you got a scenario that you want to do, really good low light performance and slow motion, and 1080p, well, good. We can, in 8x zoom, you can make that happen, and it'll be set for you at that time. You don't have to worry about setting it every time.
Talking about the settings, kind of go into, if someone doesn't know anything about Tactacam, explain to them how they set those settings. And I believe it's an app, correct?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. So we got a Tactacam app. It's free on the App Store. Here before long, the app is actually going to be compatible with all of our camera lines, including our low end, the solo bone collectors, all the way up through the 5.0. Currently, the lines you're going to see out there are going to have the 4.0, which is app compatible, and the 5.0 are app compatible, unless you get the bone collector, but it's not kind of mainstream yet. So with the 4.0, the 4.0 and 5.0, they have three different modes on the camera that are preset, ready to rock and roll for you. The 4.0, you got your 2.7K resolution mode and 30 frames. You got your 5x zoom mode. You got your slow motion mode. Those are preset. You can adjust them when you're in the app, but as soon as that app closes, they go back to what the camera was set at. Your 5.0, you can customize them. So your first mode is your 4K resolution mode, 30 frames a second, outstanding low light. If you're going to be bow hunting anything 30 yards in, you don't need to change it. I mean, that's going to be your best performing mode. If you want to do your zoom mode, you switch it to the next one. It's built in 8x zoom now, 2.7K resolution. Then you've got your slow motion mode as the third mode, 120 frames a second at 1080p. So those are the three modes that are built into the camera. Now on the 5.0, let's say I want my 4K to be 8x zoom. I get into the app. In that 4K mode, it's going to tell me it's in the 4K mode, and then I just click on the settings, and I can adjust any of those settings I want, and then I can toggle the zoom in and out to wherever I want it, and as soon as I close the app, it saves it now. So your mode is your mode, not our mode.
Exactly. And then the other big thing that came out with the 5.0 is the remote control. Explain the remote control and how awesome that is.
So on your 4.0s, you could have 5, 6, 7 cameras, whatever you wanted, right? If you wanted that many cameras, you could have them, but you had to turn them on individually. And then if you wanted to remote control them, you had to turn them on, connect them to your phone through the app, and then you could remote control it from the phone. But the camera and the phone had to be going at the same time. The 5.0 remote completely changes the point of view game for point of view cameras and remote capabilities. There's a lot of other cameras out there that have remotes, but they're sucking batteries all day long because they have to be connected with Wi-Fi. The camera's got to be on before you can connect it to the remote, all that jumble mumble. So the 5.0 remote allows you to connect up to 5 cameras to one remote, and you have to push the button one time, and all the cameras go from off to on and recording. So it's like your TV. Your TV's off, your remote is off, but you hit the remote button one time, your TV comes on and starts playing whatever. Exact same concept of your Tactacam. So you're not sucking battery all day long. You're not having to worry about any Wi-Fi connections glitching out on you. And the remote's going to be, it's advertised to work from 30 feet away, or 30 yards, sorry. And it'll do that all day long, I'll tell you that. And they've tested it out to 200. So you can imagine the possibilities now of guys out there using, camera on the ground, camera in the tree, camera on their bow or gun. Just going to get ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that opens up a whole nother spectrum of, like you said, about point of view camera angles and like using what you want to use. Just like you said, maybe you want to put it on the decoy. It's just going to be that much easier. Or if you want to put it in the tree, like maybe 10 foot even above where you are to get that downward angle over a second shooter or something. But that remote opens up the capabilities. It's crazy. I think that's a game changer in my mind, just because you can bring into 5 cameras. That with one push of the button, you got 5 cameras recording. That's insane.
And I beg you to ask any TV show out there how many pounds of gear they would bring in if they had to run 5 cameras.
It's exactly right. Talking about the poundage that a camera crew would have to bring in for 5 cameras. And the thing with the 5.0s, I mean, even the 4.0s, the picture quality, the video quality is just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. The high resolution is the 1080. Anything you watch on TV, unless it's a 4K channel, is going to be 1080p HD, and that's our lowest end on the 5.0. So yeah, you got the 1080 resolution on the 4, the 5, the 2.7K, the 4K. Yeah, the picture quality is outstanding.
There's a question out there. I wish this was a different answer, but I understand. Is that a lot of people ask, does the remote work with older models? And I know that it doesn't. It only works for 5.0s, correct?
That's correct. Yep. Currently, it does not.
Yep. So
now the 5.0 has actually got a little bit. They have to have a receiver built into it. So before we had, obviously the Wi-Fi signal was your remote capability. Well, now the 5.0 has actually got the technology it needs built into the camera for the remote to work.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling to me, because the fact of just getting in the app it's a little cumbersome, But
it can be, yeah.
Just having that remote around your neck it's amazing.
Yep.
I currently only have the 4.0 and the 4.0 wide. I can't wait till I can get my hands on a 5.0, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah. And I tell this to everybody. I don't care if you've got the Tactacam Solo or the Tactacam Bone Collector, the 4.0, or even one of our 3.0s or 2.0s. Any Tactacam a customer gets, regardless of the price point, you are going to be mind blown with. Like I told you, I started when they had the 2.0s. I've still got my 2.0, and I watch videos to this day. I mean, I mounted it one time just for the hell of it. I mounted it to a golf club, filming me golfing, and you can see like from what's my arm length, maybe 4 feet away, right? Just in its 1080p resolution, dude, you can see every whisker on my face. And I watched that video just because I'm like, the freaking quality on these things is amazing. No matter, like I said, I don't care if you have the lowest end now all the way up to our top end. But if you increase your options and you increase to the higher level models, it's going to make your lower level model a paperweight. I'll say that.
Exactly. And that's crazy to think that that's what, 2 or 3 steps. The 2.0 is where they kind of started. Now it's at the 5.0. And it's just that much better. And it's video quality and everything. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, the 5.0 definitely just completely turned the POV game for hunters completely over a whole new bridge. It's just ridiculous.
And I was talking. I actually had Ronnie on here, Ronnie Belfield, here last week, and he's going to be on this week.
I'm sorry to hear that.
His episode is going to air this Thursday, but we were talking about that you may have an argument for another company, but what you can't argue is that zoom factor and those points of view. That's what puts Tactacam up above everybody else, because I've used GoPro, I've used all the other brands, and I still use some of them depending on what it is, but the Tactacam video, the Tactacam zoom is really just what puts it above these competitors.
Absolutely. And, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of guys, like you said, they've got, brand loyalty to other stuff, or they've been maybe using the GoPros and things like that. But when I break it down for guys, they're completely different tools for completely different jobs. That GoPro has its purpose. It's built for you or the camera moving quickly. The reason they design their lens the way they do is it's built to capture fast-paced action. It's not built for the guy that wants to shoot a deer at 20 yards and, it's going to make that deer look like he's standing 60 yards away. It's just the fact of the camera. I know they've got some software things that try to mitigate some of those, but it's just, you're still not going to be completely happy with that result. The 5.0, but all of Tactacam, when Ben Stern built it, was built completely around the idea that there's nothing out there right now that a hunter would be happy with if he wanted to share this video, share this memory with his friends and his family. And that's what Tactacam did.
And that's exactly right. And really the only way for someone to compare a Tactacam to a GoPro or maybe a Spy Point or those other action cameras is to go with the wide. I mean, all they can compare is grab the wide because they can't even get close to the regular.
They can't, and I can tell you this too. So you've got the weatherproof ability. Every single Tactacam you get is completely weatherproof, so you never have to worry about it raining on you. You don't got to put it in a little box to prevent yourself from dropping it in the water while you're duck hunting or something. And the microphone. You're gonna, if nothing else, if you get that wide and you want to set any fisheye lens camera side by side with a Tactacam 4 5.0, that microphone is killer. And honestly, I know the camera, the footage and everything is great, but the microphone is my favorite thing because I feel like if you're only filming with a point of view camera, that's the one thing you always sacrifice unless you want to spend another $160, get yourself a Rode mic, put it in there. This microphone kicks butt. No. Like one of the hunts I had this last year was my muzzleloader deer I shot in Virginia. It was a little too dark. I ran out of camera light, but you can hear him walking in from 40 yards away on the pine needles. You hear his footsteps coming in from 40 yards out underneath the tree stand, and then when the gun goes off, you see the muzzle flash because it picks up whatever light's available. But yeah, it's just it blows your mind.
And I can attest to that because this year I started hunting. I mean, I've always hunted public land, but I'm hunting public land by myself more, and I have a climbing setup. It's where I take my sticks and my stand, and I don't want to carry my camera bag with me. Because it's just one more thing, because you already have so much stuff with you. So what I do is I put my wide facing me on my bow and my 4.0 regular facing out, at the stabilizer. I didn't realize how good the microphone was until I did my intros, my video intros and stuff. And then I checked it on my computer like 3 days later, and I'm like, holy cow. I mean, I don't have to have the camera. I thought I was going to be losing something, but I'm not.
It completely... Yeah, I mean, it's in a 3.5 ounce package, man. So the guy like you're carrying your stands, your sticks, your bag, everything else, your bow, your gun, and now you got 6 ounces of camera gear with you, no microphones to worry about, no extra stuff, and it picks up the whole thing. So I think it really takes, if anybody out there wants to be the next, Kip Campbell or whoever, man. I mean, with a wide angle and a regular angle camera, a Tactacam, you're going to be able to just literally create your own mini TV show.
No, it's true. And the head mount, you guys, you have the right accessories. And what happens too when you guys created the Tactacam, when they created the Tactacam, is they focused around action camera mounts. And that's key because it allows you to mount to stuff that you may have already had. It's an easy transition, even though you guys have the accessories as well. But if you had the accessories before, it just is an easy transition.
Absolutely. Yep, that's correct. And so we've got, the mounts that we started with were all built around, okay, how do we get this camera for the hunter to mount to their weapon so they don't have to worry about, the camera arms or whatever, right? And so, every mount we make, completely customized to, and they're 100% revolving around the easiest, most efficient way to mount a camera to your weapon to optimize it for video quality and all that. But like you said, we've got the adapters to mount to any other, GoPro started the point of view game. Everybody knows that. They made a universal base system, which was really smart for them. And then every company that came in after said, hey, let's make some money building extra accessories for this company. So now with a little tiny adapter you get with our head mount, you can mount it to any mount that's out there for point of view cameras.
Exactly. With each bow, there's a different setup and there's different holes, the way it's designed, the way the riser is. And, I went to Westlakes and got my screw, but I used the tripod mount for the action cameras. Yeah. And I screwed it to that and I tightened it down. And just like you said, you guys call it the action cam mount, I think. Exactly. Yeah. And the circular mount that's on the Tactacam, it fits perfect. And it's easy. And I think that's another selling point I was talking to Ronnie about was the ease of use. Now, not only with the 5.0, but all you had to do, even if you just had 1 or 2, is just click a button. And you're going, and it's ready to go, and it's just you can't mess up almost. I mean, it's impossible.
It is, and I tell everybody that too. As long as you can remember to hit the button once, you can get your hunt on film. And we still get people, oh, dude, I had this awesome buck. Oh, cool. I can't wait to see the video. Oh, man, I forgot to turn the camera on. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
One button. But yeah, with the remote now, because, like you said, you've got two cameras on yours, right? You got the one facing you, one facing out. You and I have been doing it long enough. It's nothing for us. It takes less than a second to boom, boom. Hit those camera buttons are on, right? Mm-hmm. But for that guy that doesn't want to think about it, like my wife, a great example. I'm getting her into hunting out here, and I don't want her to think about anything else other than getting her first animal, right? Yep. So I'm going to carry that remote on me, slap the 5.0s on hers, bow or gun, whatever. Well, Montana, I can't do both, so it'll just be gun season with her. Mm-hmm. And, just I'll hit the button for her. She doesn't have to think about it now. Yeah. So guys that have kids out there trying to get, you want your kid focused on the moment. You want to capture that moment on film. Yeah. You have the remote on you. Heck, hook it up to your phone. You can live watch what your kid's looking at or whatever. It's going to be sweet.
That's a great point, and I didn't even think about that. Is like you could even give the remote. Let's say that it is a hunting TV show or something like us, where we have a cameraman and the hunter. You could give the remote to the guy saying cameraman, and he click the button, and you don't even. Yeah. It takes all that out of there.
It does. The hunter doesn't have to worry about it. I'll tell you a little secret I learned at ATA this year. Kip Campbell, of all people, right? The goofiest guy probably on TV. His cameraman, when they had the 4.0s out, he'd have two 4.0s running. He would have one on his weapon, facing out, and the cameraman would have one on him too, like mounted to the big camera.
Oh, yeah.
So no matter what, if Kip would forget to hit his cameraman would hit it for him. Yeah. Now his cameraman's got the remote in his pocket, so Kip doesn't have to worry about it.
Exactly. It's hard enough, killing an animal to begin with, let alone having to worry about that stuff. But yeah, that's the world we live in now. I mean, like everybody wants to record it, and it's for each own. I mean, maybe some people record it for TV shows. Some people record it just to have the memories and just to keep those, because you really, like I've stated before, you really can't relive something by your memory. You'll remember it by your memory, but seeing and feeling and hearing those noises, as you stated, will bring you back, and you'll get that sense, that tingling, that emotion. It just isn't the same.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, as hunters, we all tell tall tales and hunting stories and everything else. But, man, you've got the video to go with it now to show everybody. It brings them into the field with you. You can't, like you said, you can only do so much with telling a story, and, you feel excited about it. But, man, when you get and you'll find yourself, it's the second you filmed your first hunt, I don't even care if you didn't shoot anything. It was a squirrel. It was a doe walking through, whatever. You're going to sit there at work. The next day at home, you're going to watch that video over and over and over and over, just because you get to relive that memory all over again.
And then one more thing about the Tactacam 5.0 and the app we didn't talk about is the live version. You can go live now, right?
Yeah, yep. We do have a live capability built into it. So I think they're still working on, they had to work on a couple platforms. And, as we all know, Facebook, it seems like, is getting more and more less tolerant of the hunting, or what they call violence and all that. So as a hunting company trying to figure out a way to make a camera go live for what we do as hunters, obviously there's some political struggles there as well. The function's there, but it's a matter of making sure all of our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed, and we'll get it out there to you guys.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool too. I mean, people do go live, using their phone, but now they can click a button on their phone and it'll actually show what's on the Tactacam.
Yeah, and the cool thing, like, we said with the 5.0, you can completely customize your options. So you can set that setting on one of your modes. So you don't even have to have your phone hooked up anymore. You just do it one time. And now my blue mode is my Facebook Live mode. So when I want to go Facebook Live, I shoot my first elk. Boom, there we go. We're going, man.
I didn't know that.
Yep. It's all, you can just set the setting in there.
No, but again, I didn't even know that. I've even taken those university classes and that we have to take as team members, and I don't know if that's even on there, but that's pretty awesome. I did not know you can make that as a mode, a preset mode on your camera. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, and you mentioned the Tactacam University, so that's something. So all of our team members, as you just mentioned, they take that, and it gives them anything they could need to know. Ideally, anything they could need to know about their camera, how to use it properly, the right settings, the right cards. But one thing I would say, you guys that are customers out there, maybe listen to this, or potential customers, you're getting a very technical product, a very easy to use technical product, but all that easy use, you need to make sure that you read your owner's manual, get online, watch the how-to videos, because you want to make sure you have the best experience possible when you're out there filming. You don't want to find out that you had the wrong SD card style when you're trying to film your son's first hunt. You want to make sure that thing is good to go. On SD cards, make sure they're at least on these 5.0s. I would just say get the 128 gigabyte card. Ultra 3 class, on your 4.0s, make sure they're a 64 class 10. You want the best brain inside there, but like I said, play with it. Get it out of the box. Use it. You don't want to be test running stuff when you're out there potentially catching the biggest deer you'll ever shoot, or your son or daughter's first deer, or in my case, my wife's first animal. Like I don't want to play that game. You want to make sure you know how to use your gear before you get out in the woods. You want to take your bow out that you just bought without sighting it in. Use your camera, get used to it. Ask us questions. We have a great customer service team. There's a good chance we've got a ton of team members out there. There's a good chance you know a team member in your area maybe. Ask them questions. Post it on social media now if you got a question about it. I mean, there's people on there now. We've been out long enough that anybody can answer your question. So.
No, that's a great point that you made about taking it out. I mean, even if you video your kitchen, it doesn't matter. Test it before you use it in the field, because exactly like you said, you don't take your bow out of the package and just shoot it. You don't take a climbing setup out just because, without testing it on a tree and getting to know how it works. Make sure and read the manual, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We're more than willing to help. And there are a lot of us out there, not only on the team, you guys, but even people who not on part of the team that know enough about it.
Yeah, that have been using them well. Exactly. I love it when I'm at a trade show now and we've been out here 4 years, and every year you go to trade shows, it just gets a little cooler because now, I'll be sitting there explaining to some guy who just heard about Tactacam today, and I'll have 2 customers walk up and they'll go, "Oh yeah, man, that thing's so cool," and they'll pull their phone out. "Look at this video I got this year," and it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that right there speaks to it itself, is that you're doing the right thing with the right product.
Yeah,
right
definitely.
There.
We will be right back after this short break.
Are you ready to capture every heart-pounding moment of your outdoors adventure lifestyle in stunning HD video? Then attach the Tactacam 4.0 to your bow, crossbow, or firearm. Push the power button one time and start recording. Now, thanks to a 5-time zoom and easy Wi-Fi operation, the Tactacam is truly the best way to share your hunt. For more information, visit Tactacam.com. Tactacam, share your hunt.
I sent you the topics over, and I want to know, each person's different. Like you said, you've kind of moved a little bit. You've hunted. You're learning to hunt different animals. Your hunting experience is a little different. What tool, what tip would you give somebody who may be new to the hunting industry, or a youth that's coming into the hunting industry?
What I would say, coming from a guy, I started hunting when I was 14. I'm 28 now, so a 14-year window there. The game has changed so much in terms of finding places to go, I think. I think that is probably the toughest thing that a hunter faces today, is finding a place that you can consistently go out and just kind of, not necessarily maybe call your own, but get out there, get permission, get places to go. So one thing I think that gets, as a former park ranger, obviously I got, my entire emphasis on everything is kind of conservation. So public grounds, things like that. I think, like growing up in Iowa, great example. I don't think public ground gets used nearly as much as what people should. There's a lot of public ground there. The way Iowa is in general, and a lot of these bigger Midwest states, they're getting so bought up in the money game of, guys spending tons and tons of money, whether in-state or out-of-state, to lease ground, to start outfitting businesses and stuff. It's getting harder and harder and harder for the average Joe to get out there and find a nice piece of public ground or private ground for yourself. So first piece of advice, get out there, research the public ground that's available to you out there. It's there for a reason. It's there for you to use. If you guys don't use it, it's going to go away. I can promise you that. Obviously there's a bunch of funding in place that sportsmen completely support the entire conservation program out there, so it's extremely important that we utilize the resources that the states and national level, federal and everything gives us. My second piece of advice, do not be afraid to go knock on doors and ask questions. So, when I grew up in central Iowa, moved across the state about 2.5 hours to go to school. So, I had to relearn all the places, figure out where I needed to go. I started with public ground, a lot of great public ground, but I started door knocking I would drive by this pond every single day that was just loaded with ducks. And I'm an extremely novice waterfowl hunter. I'll never claim to be an expert at it. But I'm like, man, if I could just hunt there, I bet I'd kill a duck. And so, all my buddies, we'd go out to the lake, we'd go out to the public place, and they wouldn't, we'd do okay with ducks. And one day I went out by myself and I said, you know what, I'm going to go ask. Why not, right? So I went out, I knocked on this old lady's house at the top of the hill there where the ducks were, and she's like, yeah, as long as the guy's not beaver trapping down there, go ahead. And I would go out there. It turned into be an amazing dove hunting spot. Fantastic waterfowl. The waterfowl figured out I was there after a while and kind of changed their habits. But point being, don't be afraid to knock on doors. Moving across the country, like you said, that's opened this exact same conversation up for myself. Being a park ranger was extremely helpful because you meet a lot of people. Obviously, you have a lot of conversations, coworkers, public, whatever. So I did get a chance to meet a lot of good friends out in Virginia. Eventually, that opened some doors to maybe being able to hunt with some buddies on some private land they had, or just meeting people that were generous enough to say, hey, if you want to come out here and kill a deer or two every year, that's fine. So don't be afraid to get out there and build relationships. That's my second piece of advice is if you're going to be out there, build the relationship. It's not a right you have as a hunter. If some guy doesn't want you hunting on their land or some gal, that's their right. They own that property. For one reason or another, if they don't want you out there. But I will say I've baled hay to earn the privilege to hunt on people's ground. As a park ranger, just dumb luck. I had a guy that owned a piece. Technically, it was like surrounded by the park. And because I watched that and kept poachers off that during gun season, he let me hunt it whenever I wanted. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and earn the respect of the landowner to get it. But yeah, and then now moving here to Montana, 1/3 of the state is public. So I'm going to actually try to focus on public ground out here. And they've got some pretty cool programs where it's kind of a private land that's set up to be public access. So they've got a lot of that out here too. So I'm going to get a little work in that and figure that out. But public ground, man, there's just millions of acres out here. So, and I've been watching a lot of the show. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Meat Eater, but he's like all public land. So now I'm just like, okay, I'm a Western hunter now. I want to do the public land thing and make it tough on myself. But so we've gone out, my wife and I, just putting time in, going and driving around. We just got our hunt licenses the other day. So now we're waiting on gun season to get here. But I found some mule deer. I found a couple huge black bears if they're not hibernating by the time I get to hunt them. So I haven't found any elk yet. That's the one thing I'm missing. I can't find any elk, but I haven't put a ton of time in. But the time I put in, finding out, scouting, and doing that. So a new hunter, figuring out where you're going to hunt. Look at your public options. They're a great option. They're underutilized in most states. So there's really, really, really good hunting out there that people probably just drive right by because they think it's plowed with people, but it's not. I promise you it's not. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, make relationships, make those opportunities happen for yourself, and then put your time in. Get out there, figure out what the animals are doing. You're never going to have a bad day in the woods. I can promise you that. So.
No, that's a great point that you make about knocking on doors. It is always a no unless you ask. And I live by that, and it's just true. Is your answer is always going to be no unless you ask a question.
Yep.
You can never get a yes unless you ask. So that's a great point. That's a great tip. And then the public land, we hunt a lot of public land. We're here in Missouri. I think the ratio to public land to people is actually really low, and I think Missouri is like one of the highest in like population to land mass area that the public land has. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people get intimidated by public because they think that they're going to either run into somebody or they're going to step on somebody's toes, when in reality, most people, I'm not saying all, you may have a bad experience, but most people understand that there's other people there and will respect that. And either if you see somebody, they'll move or stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're doing the public land thing, I mean, I'm sure I got a good lesson in it this weekend, actually. We went out to find a spot. We just got a new rifle to sight in, and I just asking people around here, they said, unless you want to drive a really long ways, or if you don't have a pub or a private place to go, go find a piece of public ground, doesn't have a lot of people on it. If it's national forest, if it's not posted, you can shoot out there, just be respectful of what's around you. So, okay, great. So we drove out to this new piece of up in the mountains here that I wanted to check out anyway, but I was like, hey, we'll go up there, check it out, get the gun sighted in, and we'll make a day of it. But man, I tell you what, every time I found a good spot to look like you could shoot, there was a truck parked there. And if there's a truck parked there, there's a hunter somewhere out there walking around looking for elk or whatever. So, we just kind of be respectful. Everybody has the same right to be there as you do, but you got to be safe. You got to make sure, I think the fundamentals, the hunter safety stuff, right? All that comes into play big time when you're not the only one out there on that piece of ground. You always got to make sure your surroundings, make sure there's a backdrop on your shot, that whole 9 yards, right? But it was a great experience. I mean, we ran into two guys that were just driving through there, drinking beers, getting high. They were like 80 years old. I don't think they cared. they stopped, and we're driving through in a Buick, going over creeks and stuff, right? Like we looked like we didn't belong there. Yeah. So they pulled us over actually, and just had a hoot talking to us. And then one of the hunters we found walking back up the road back to his truck, he stopped and told us everything he knew about hunting and everything. It was just a great experience, but definitely one of those things. There's a lot of people out there using some of that ground for different reasons. So it's always up here, for instance, you got mountains. It's beautiful. There's people just sightseeing. So the bird watchers aren't always in direct competition with the hunters, but just be respectful.
Yeah. No, totally agree.
Carry your trash out. As a former park ranger, carry your trash out.
Do not litter.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, sir. Really appreciate you doing this, taking the time. I know we had a little technical difficulties. Maybe next time, right. If we do this again, it won't be so as choppy.
That's right. We'll get it figured out, man. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, man. I had a blast.
Yeah. See ya. Talk to you later.
All right, man. We'll see ya.
Bye.
Man, I've been lining them up of late. That's another great interview. And I appreciate Aaron working with me as we were having a little bit of technical difficulties throughout that interview. It's really appreciated. Thank you again, sir. And hopefully we can sit down and do this again. Tip of the podcast, remember, check out your public land areas and don't be afraid to ask permission to hunt land that you may think is private, because it's always a no unless you ask. This podcast was brought to you by Big Muddie Outdoors. Make sure and like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next week.